I would like to call on stage Alberto Musacchio, CEO of Food Evolution, also known as the Italian king of plant-based protein. Please, Alberto.
Well, thank you, everybody. It's very difficult to go on stage being called a king of anything. So trust me, to be a king in the plant-based world when you're the only player, probably, it's relatively easy when there is no almost, when it's such a new world. I have been invited because, as Gianluca was saying, I've been into veggie, vegan and plant-based business all my life, so more than 40 years of professional experience. It's been always very difficult 40 years. You can imagine how it could have been to open a vegetarian restaurant in Umbria, on top of a mountain 40 years ago. It was like, people were looking like, okay, so you are herbivores, is it? So it has been difficult. Things are changing. Plant-based is picking up. Italy is still having small numbers. We all have to try to push, because we always talk about the problem of this planet. The problem of this planet comes a lot from one of these two reasons. So I would like to give just a little glimpse of what is a plant-based meat analog. How do you do it, what it is? People have always a lot of interest, but they don't know what's going on, how it is made. So I will try to answer a few questions or a few ideas which you may have, trying to give a sense to my speech. When the first question always is, why vegans want to eat something like meat? This is the question which we receive 1 billion times on social, in speeches and everything, this is always the number one question. This question has two answers. First, when people stop eating meat, it's generally for three reasons. One is healthy reason, one is animal welfare reason, and one is climate, environment. So people change or stop or quit or reduce the meat consumption mostly for these three reasons. Nobody stops because they dislike meat. The people will stop eating meat because it doesn't taste so good. When you talk about a carbonara with juicy pieces of fried ham or guanciale or whatever, this is not going to happen. So mostly people like the meat, they stop eating for a certain reason. So there is nothing wrong if someone has stopped eating, if they find my pare pancetta, how we call it, we had to find a silly name of pare pollo, pare pancetta, pare manzo, not to go in jail and to be able to be on the shelves in the GDO, why not to make a vegetarian or vegan carbonara using an alternative? The second reason is also that produce like ours are not meant to be for vegans. On our packaging, there is not written, hey, you're an omnivore, take your hands out of my packet, because, this is not like this. We mostly do this product for people who eat meat. And mostly now, they've created this new name, flexitarian. We like to give always a title to each and every one, but the concept is everybody now is somehow realizing what is the cost of meat consumption and especially of meat production. So if they find a good alternative, they're happy. When this product started, what is the history behind a meat analog? In Italy we are very much related to traditions. We love our tradition. So everything which is new, no. We love our tradition. Tradition, what is tradition today? 1 year before, 100 years before, 1,000 years before, has been innovation. The first person, which says, taking a cow, slip his throat, take the belly, open the belly and take a piece of intestine, which on one side has still some pasture, on the other side has some feces, and started to fill it with meat, fat, and fennel seeds. You would have looked and say, okay, this guy is completely nuts. He did a salami. He did something which now is one of the most reputed ingredients and produce of our country. But the salami doesn't come out of a tree. There is not an animal which is a salami with eggs and legs. So a salami one day has been an innovation. So we should not be, as Italians, we are proud of our food heritage. But we should not close our eyes with respect to changes which we need to do and which we need to develop. The first producer of this product was a beautiful lady which unfortunately Dad took far too early. Her name was Linda McCartney. She was the first wife of Sir Paul McCartney. She was a very strong animal lover. And so she created the first line of meat analogs in England 40 years ago. Very British, bit too spicy. They may not have been liked so much in Italy, but they're still working. They sell like 50 million. They've done a great job to introduce innovation and changes to the Brits. After that, we had 20 difficult years because the industry realized that they were the vegans or the vegetarian, the weirdos, so they thought we have to give them something. So we had 20 years of the most miserable burgers, which were mostly a mix of gluten or starch, put in the machine for pressing with some frozen vegetables and some aromas, to feed the vegans. 20 years of what Maurizio Crozza, which you all know is a famous Italian comedian, were calling Salute the Cartoon, an old test of cardboard. Historically, thanks God, 3-4 years ago, the Americans came investing huge amount of money on a new project, which everybody knows, called, Beyond Meat, together with Impossible Food. It created kind of a revolution. It was the first time in which you had a burger which was really tasting like meat, which was juicy, which was rich, which was intense. A bit maybe too fat at the beginning, still maybe to tune it better and so on, but an excellent product which became so famous. But this product has the great value to become a milestone. Why that? Because it started to attract huge amount of money. Big investors started to invest, apart from Italy, unfortunately, they started to invest millions and millions and millions in this field. Just recently, Impossible Food made another round of investment of $500 million, and this was the 6th. I say this because I'm so jealous, that nobody ever gives anything like this to me, But what I mean to say is, we have great capacity of skill. If we put huge amount of money together, we can do chicken, we can do even giraffe food, we can do anything we want. But the question is, why we should do that? Why we should get crazy to make a piece of soy tasting like a chicken? The answer is relatively simple. If we take it, we need protein. Anyone needs protein. An animal needs protein. We live, we grow, thanks to protein. So protein comes from the soil. It comes from soy, it comes from sunflower, it comes from different sources. So we have a brick on which we build life. We take this brick, we feed a cow, we eat the cow. We lose 80% of the energy feeding the cow. We take the protein, we feed the chicken, we eat the chicken, we lose 55%. Chicken is more performing. We take the protein, we feed insect. Don't be horrified, they can be eatable. We eat the insect, we lose only 30% because insect has a very strong protein. But if we do eat the protein directly, we have that 100% use of the protein without going any direction, without losing energy. We could say, who cares? I eat my fettina at home, I'm happy with that. Yes, the problem is numbers. What we usually don't know, technically, often regarding this world, is numbers. Leon Tolstoy, the famous Russian novelist, was saying, if slaughterhouse would have been built with crystal glasses, nobody would have been eating meat. So I'm sorry now to touch one part of my speech, which everybody dislikes. When I say this, people look at me and say, okay, here comes the vegan plugger off, But we have to open our eyes because this is a very important part. I was meaning numbers. The world has passed in 40 years from consuming 40 million tons of meat. In 40 years, we have reached 400 millions of tons per year. The lady very rightly was saying that we are expecting an increase of population of 1 or 2 billions. Any one of you have an idea of how many animals, I'm talking about ground animals, not fishes, how many animals do we kill, slaughter, and eat every year? We kill and slaughter and eat more than 100 billions. You say, oh, come on, you know. We are 8 billions of people. I'm sure that any one of you who eat meat, he doesn't eat one chicken in an entire year. He will eat 5 or 6 chicken, and then there will be lamb at Easter, and there will be, pork for Christmas or turkey for Thanksgiving. So what I mean to say, the impact of these 100 billions, apart from the ethical approach, the 100 billions of animals being treated in the most horrible ways all their life. And now, I will finish very soon. I'm sorry to disturb you with a conversation which is not that nice. But this part is very heavy on the planet. We said the two major sources of pollution and global heating are fossil fuels and animal farming. Animal farming, they say, is about 13%. But the 13%, it's only what is counts as emission from the animals. But we don't take under consideration that 85% of the arable lands in the world are used to feed those animals. So we have sometimes in Africa, we have children which have no food and they die of starvation in many countries, but we have food enough to feed 100 billions of animals. And to feed 100 billions of animals, we need about the size of Africa is the arable land which we use. Now, I don't know if every one of you has ever driven a tractor. I love that. If you drive a tractor, you can go pretty fast, but if you're using the plug, l'aratro, the tractor goes very slowly. Now, you try to think and to imagine that you have to plug Africa. So you put your plug down in Cape Town, and you have to reach El Cairo, which is probably 7,000 kilometers. And then you have to go all the Africa. It will take you 2,000 years, or you need 1 million tractors. And here is the point. The 1 million tractors will be there, fertilizing, giving water, huge amount of water, spending petrol, polluting the air, needing more land, deforesting the Amazon to have always more and more land. Now, I finish with this part. The point is, okay, we have done that because we were needing that. I don't want to destroy the meat industry. I know personally all the biggest players of the meat industry, and I do respect them. But we need to make a swap. We need to make a change. Leonardo DiCaprio, which is not a philosopher, but is a smart guy, he said, at the moment, the most revolutionary act which people can do with respect to the environment is to switch from an animal protein to a plant-based one. Now the concept is, I love my country, I love Italians, I know that we are people buon gustai. So the concept is, we have to please the Italian palate, which is the most sophisticated. So we cannot go to the Italian and say, oh look, you're eating too much meat, this is not good for the planet, tomorrow you have to eat tofu with spinach. You know, I know the answer which I will receive. So the concept is, we have to invest. We need to work together to try to push the quality up. Tonight you will eat some plant-based produce from our company. But I'm not talking for my company, you know, on its own. I'm talking about the idea that we need to push to create alternative. So, you know, the investor, they need to invest more. The distribution has to distribute more. The journalists should pay a little bit more attention to this. In Italy, when we talk about meat analogs, the press call it the fake meat. So try to think someone like me, which has been spending millions of euros, 40 years of his life, a huge amount of effort, and at the end, what do? The fake. Fantastic. So we are not going to change the world with fake. We are going to change the world, starting to use better the energy which we always been using. The planet is going in a very difficult direction. I'm just one of 3 brothers. I'm just making a very stupid statistic, based on the family. 3 brothers. My eldest brother lives in Piedmont. Beautiful house near the Po River, very peaceful place. In the last 5 years, he has been flooded twice. One time they had 1.5 meters of water. The house has been ruined. I'm lucky because I own a mountain in Umbria, a beautiful top of a place completely surrounded by forest. This summer, the fire has come and burned half of the forest. So only out of a family of 3 brothers, 2 have been affected by the global warming. And I'm a person which drives an electric car, has solar panel in the house, in the factory, don't eat meat, fish, anything else. Still, when the flood comes, it will take the good guy and the bad guy. When the fire comes, it will take the good guy and the bad guy. We have seen Alok Sharma ending the COP26 in tears, which was not actually what we were expecting to see. We wanted to see someone come and say, guys, we have done something, for God's sake, we have managed to change something. No, you see the big boss, we can't say, oh shit, it didn't really go very well, I'm so sorry. That's hard. I'm 6 years old. I've seen many COP 26, 23, 29, 61 and a half before. And it's always like, in 20 years we're going to do this. It's like when we do business plan for our investors. It's always going to be glorious. We are going always to become billionaire. But the reality sometimes is different. The reality is based on something which we need to do. It's something which we need to act. The governments are probably not doing enough. The politicians also. But who can we blame? Do we expect Angela Merkel to go to Volkswagen and say, guys, your cars are polluting. From tomorrow you cannot make diesel engine anymore? She would be crucified. Do we expect Mario Draghi to go to Assocarne and say from tomorrow you should not make red meat anymore? They will crucify him as well. So the changes come from us, come from all of us. Of course, Esselunga has a higher responsibility. Of course, the financial world has a higher responsibility. Of course, the journalist has a higher responsibility. But you are the ones which really can make a difference. Because the big distribution, because the world will change when there will be a request. We don't need to crucify the people which produce meat. As I said, they're lovely people, the people who are doing their business. I don't like what they do at all, personally, I don't like it at all. But I understand they are not criminal. They are doing just what has been done for thousands of years. But they will be ready to change in the moment that you will start buying something different. The first investor in Beyond Meat was Tyson Food, twice. And it's the second biggest meat producer in the world. So, it's like La Gallina and l'uovo, the eggs and the chicken. So we need to put an egg or a chicken before and start to change something in our diet. Start to request and consume more products which will help the planet. One day, a guy was talking with JFK, with John Fitzgerald Kennedy, which is not an airport. And he said to him, sir, what can America do for me and my family? And JFK answered, don't always ask what America can do for you. Try to think what you can do for America. So now is the time that we have to do something to make a change. Let's not forget what they were saying, that this planet do not belongs to us. We have borrowed from our son. We have borrowed from our son. So let's try to give our son a good world where they can continue to live happily and in good condition. Thank you, everybody.